Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Erudition Network. This is Thursday. This is the Erudition Network live interactive Black History and Knowledge session. I am your host, Eddie Phillips. I am here for the next hour where we discuss history, knowledge, and information, and things that may have not necessarily been covered directly for you in school or things like that. Just before we got on, I apologize for a little bit of tardiness. We had weather coming in and I had some adjustments that I needed to make for the stream before we got ready to come on. We have had a lot of different things going on within social media right now because, you know, we have Twitter wants you to pay extra in order to stream on it. Facebook has now removed your ability to stream to groups. It's a bunch of things just changing and happening. And it's strange as we continue to try to push information out here to people, that we're changing the way that the norms of things that have been normal for for several years now. But that's okay. We're still here. It is still Thursday, and we are still streaming here live. Give a couple of moments for different individuals to get in and to come on. But I wanted to make sure that I was actually on today. There are so many things going on with me and in what's going on in my life right now. But one thing that I try to stay very consistent at is getting on here for Erudition, for the interactive, for you all to be able to ask questions and to grow knowledge and to cover subjects that I know that aren't really being covered in many other places. So it's important to me that we do that, and we have been able to maintain that consistency pretty much for quite a while now. Sorry about that, trying to adjust. As you can probably hear, the thunder is what I said. It's really weird because the storm just happened to roll in just as I was getting ready to come on. It's always difficult trying to do a show when you have weather. So if there is an issue, please bear with us as we go through it and figure it out. But yeah, this has been an interesting time. All right, I'm going to send out a reminder link because we got a little bit late because of the weather, and then we're just going to go and get into this hour and start discussing some things. Give me a moment here. As I said, you start seeing issues with how things work. And it's funny because we pretty much live out in a little distance. And so when we get weather, it does affect a lot of different things. And it's a little strange. It's not as much as if you were sitting right in the city somewhere. So, but you know, I work sometimes. All right, I'm putting out this link so we can get people on here and start getting folks interactive, you know. Um, in a moment here, I'm going to open up the floor as I do every week for questions. When I do this, I'm going to be a little bit more specific this week because I do believe sometimes people don't know what they can ask. And even though I think I'm being um, very clear, I just think it's a good idea to go in here and all right, that's out. Just wanted to make sure we sent that out there, especially because, as I said, social media um, groups and things have now changed a lot of the ways in which you can do things. So, and you can't chat through the links on the groups, which is weird, but all of that they're doing, I think it's to block things. Hey, Dad, good to see you. And good for you to be with us this evening, watching. Tina, good to see you. Thank you for being here. I'm gonna get into this. All right, all right. Let's just get into this because I think that just threw me into another screen. Questions. All right, I'm gonna open the floor for a couple of moments here to you all's questions for everybody who's joining us tonight. We do that at the beginning of every program. To give you a couple of moments to ask any questions that you have that deal with history, knowledge, understanding, something that you feel you don't quite understand, whether it be history, whether it be science, whether it be whatever. It's not. I'm not going to stop you from asking any question. There are no dumb questions. I know we always heard that's in school, but there really are no dumb questions. It's ask the question, and we will venture to give you the answer as best we can. And if we can't answer it tonight, it'll be something for us to go into and pick up later and study to go further on. So I'm leaving that floor open for you all for the next couple of moments for you to ask those questions as we move forward in the interactive. Anything that you want to ask. Historically, we got the campaigns, conventions, and things going on. We got political issues going on. Any of that, I'm going to tell you, I don't really talk politics very often, but whatever you want to talk about or ask, we're here for you to go over that information. So go for it, shoot at it, ask your question, whatever it may be, and it will be answered as best that I can. Come on, I know some of y'all got a question. Any question? I feel like sometimes when I put the program on and I do that, that people feel like I put them in a spotlight. I'm not doing that to put you in the spotlight. I'm really doing it because I just want you to interact. Okay. Okay. Eric, I see you. You said you have no questions. Eric, you sent me a question the other day. But anyway, thank you for being here with us tonight. All right, I'm gonna give you guys about 30 more seconds and then we're just gonna move on. I do this because, like I said, I want to make sure that I'm being it's not just me talking to you for an hour to 45 minutes, right? So I want to be able to make sure that you have that opportunity. Well, it's really coming down outside. It's really, really coming down. I'm glad I took the extra moments that I did to do some of the things that I did for the broadcast because it is really, really coming down out here. Thing looks a little dusty. You see that? I wipe it all the time. It's weird. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have any questions, that's fine. That's fine. If it comes up, if something hits you, that you feel you want to talk about, um, please feel free to do that as we go through the program. Um, Let me segue here before we get into anything that's really deeper and talk to you about this book. Man, I love that thunder. About this book. Um, a few months ago, I came out with um, a book. It's one of my first history books. I talk history all the time, but it was the first time that I ventured to go write because I wanted to make sure that we put out a book. And I'm saying this, some of you all, you know this, you watch the program weekly, but some of you don't. Um, you can get a history book, right? I have a book on my desk right here by Jeremy Black, right? Um, it's a pretty decent sized history book, right? Um, if you go and you look at this book, it's about, I say, 240 some pages in a hard copy. Now, I'm not here to support Mr. Black's book. That's not what I'm saying. But when you purchase this book price, when it is about $60. $60. Now, when I got this book, I got it at Barnes and Nobles, and it was on sale. It had been out for about 2 years, but its actual price is about $60. It's the history of the world, right? And it's a very generic book. So it's priced very high in order for people to know its value. Well, I wrote a book. I did it interactively. I made it an ebook, and I put it out here for all of you to be able to buy. The interactive book on Lulu Books, I kept it at a very decent price of $18 for the interactive book. I did that because I wanted people to have the opportunity to be able to buy a quality, especially in the realm of Black history, a quality Black history book where you didn't have to go and spend all this money like you would have done for Mr. Jeremy's Black's book here, but yet you and not get the information, not get Black history, get a lot of European and American history that does not tell you about the the things that Africans and African Americans brought to the table. And so I wanted to do something different, and that is what we did. I went out and I actually wrote a book called 101 Black History Question Challenge Early Word. I made it a quiz-like book so that you could be very interactive with it, and you and yours could utilize that book in real time. The issue was to utilize it in real time. That book is still on sale. It is still out here. You can go out and get this book tonight. The the interactive part, man, I could not get that out. You could easily get out. You can go get today. But here's the thing. A lot of people told me when I put that book out, a lot of people said, and I'm sharing my screen with you all. A lot of people told me that Eddie, here's an example of the book. They all told me that, you know, well, Eddie, we don't want to do we want a physical actual book. And I got that, right? We want something that we can actually look at and see. And so I went about going and taking the interactive book that you see right here. And it's funny, you see Jeremy Black's name. That was not on purpose, ladies and gentlemen. He was one of my references. I kid you not. I just bought this up, and I was just talking about Jeremy Black's book, but he's actually in my sources for another one of his books. My point is, right, is that it's just weird how God works. But my point to you is this: you have a quality history book that I put out here that is interactive. I only show you all the first page or whatever. That is interactive, that allows you to ask questions, allows you to be wrong, do all of that. That's online right now. You can go get that book today from Amazon, from Lulu Books. Download it today for $18. You don't have to spend $65 to $80. But a lot of you said to me that you wanted a book that you could actually put your hands on. And so I went and got the book done, right? I went and got this book done. This is a very thick book, right? A lot of information, a lot of quality information about African-American history, African history. This book does not deal with 1619. This book deals with early world African history. It will challenge you. It will ask you questions. It will give you information, right? It has pictures. It's not just a wordy book. 101 of those questions each have pictures, just as you would with the interactive book. The only difference is that when you answer the questions in this book, you have to go in and go to find out what the answer is. They're all in here in the back. And just like with the other book, I gave you sources. I gave you a lot of sources and resources to utilize for every question of this book. So you don't have just random things. These are sources for your questions. I was looking at this book the other day and saying, man, this is such a thick book. When you really look at it, this is not just some quick, random 5-page, 10-page, 20-page quiz book. This is a history book. So, publisher said, price your book at $85 to $110. That was the recommendation. I said, well, what can I do that it is beneficial cost-wise, that we get something from selling the book, but more importantly, keep the price down so that people who have families and folks can actually afford the book. So I priced the book again lower than what the quality of the work is. And I'm telling you this tonight on the interactive because everybody won't do that. Everybody won't do that. $45 for this book is a benefit. I am giving you things in this book, ladies and gentlemen, that you will not get. And I don't want to knock Jeremy Black and a lot of these other folks' books. And I'm giving you the research behind it, not only their books. So think about it. If you're buying, and this was not on purpose, Jeremy Black's History of the World, Prehistory, the 21st Century, you're paying $65 for his book, but he doesn't mention African cultures, right? He doesn't really go fully into Africa. He only touches on it, gives you a little bit of pieces of it. This is going to give you a deeper value because it's going to tell you about those cultures. You will learn about Jebel Iraq. You will learn about the issues that went on 300,000 years ago. You will learn how our cultures traded and passed information. You will learn about a lot of cultures that are very rarely mentioned. You will learn about Carthage, not as Carthage as they talk about it as a European satellite country in Africa. Makes absolutely no sense. You will learn about Carthage, the African Phoenician nation that it actually was. You will learn about the about the Queen of Sheba and the 70s empire and what they brought to the table and why they were important and why they're mentioned in the Bible. You will learn about the Ptolemaic Empire and how that plays into African history and our history. All of this in a book, printed out or interactive or both, priced at a price where you are going to benefit from it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a thick book. The thing that even me myself, when the book came in after I did the work of getting it finished, I was telling my son, I said, it hit me how much work I put into this book when it was printed out. Because see, here's the thing. Before that, I had the interactive book out and it answers questions, and that's 560 something different interactions within that book. But they're interactions and they're online, they're on your phone, they're on your tablet. This printed out in your hand, feeling it, right? I realized, oh wow, this was a lot of work. And this is only the first in a series of 3. We have to start learning our history. We have to start investing in our history. There are books that people tell me, well, Eddie, you got these books sitting on your behind you as a prop. No, they're not props. These are books that I read. These are the things that I go over so that when I'm writing my books or when I'm going into historical writing or teaching you all here on the interactive, that I have something that I can reference, that I can talk to and tell you and show you in real time. So I understand the value of, say, Ida B. Wells's book here, right? And having these books. This is old writing. But if you go out and you buy it, depending on who you buy it from, you're going to spend a lot of money. And now, as they start to close down the availability of African-American writings, you may not be able to even get a copy of some of these books. Not easily, not fast. And so I think it's so important that you understand that the reason why, because I know someone's going to look and say, Eddie, you priced this book at $45. And I'm going to say to them, yeah, I did. But I also, months before that, priced the same book at $18 and gave it to you digitally. We had to pay for print. But I still dropped it from the $85 to $110 that the publisher initially suggested to optimize the amount of money we get back for a sale of a book for the purposes of printing it out. Get the book, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to market things. You know, people tell me all the time, I'm probably one of the worst at doing that. I forget, like right now, I forgot to put on the ticker every time I get on. I'm not really good at that because I get into my mind of what we want to do as far as teaching you. And that becomes more historically important for me and what I'm trying to do with the program. So I don't spend a lot of time trying to figure out, oh, how do I sell this? How do I sell this? I should. I really should. And hopefully, coming up here soon, I'll get better at it as I'm writing more and more um, um, information. All right. I think I went through that. Told the truth about that. Well, I get it. Tina. A lot of people don't understand the value um, and the time spent. You know, those all night time spent writing and doing all that. And I'm gonna be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. I sometimes, because I'm a bibliophile, I sometimes don't put much value into it. Also because it's stuff that I would be doing anyway. It's reading and notes that I would be taking anyway. So when I actually sat down to do it and really look at this print version of this book, I was like, man. And let me tell you something. There's quality to this too. Not going to try to show too much, but I just showed you to digital, right? There's quality to this. This is not. These are the first two questions I keep showing of the book, but there's quality in this, and the pictures and everything that you get. Um, So, like I said, it's not just some random, uh, oh yeah, he just threw a couple of things in here, kind of book. It's not like that at all. And when you start to answer the questions, you'll really get a lot of knowledge from it. I think my greater benefit of it, because I am a bibliophile, is the sources. I think that it's great for you to answer a question and get knowledge from the answers that I give you in this book. But I think that when you have sources and places to go for yourself to grow your Black history knowledge, that's a benefit for you as a reader, that I know I benefited from as I have read through different individuals' books. I love to go and say, well, where did he get this from? What's the original document? Oh, it may be hundreds of years old, but I like to go and read it myself and get an understanding of it. And I'm giving you the ability to do that. One thing that I do in my sources is that I always bold the titles of the book that I'm sourcing, because I want you to know exactly what to look for, who wrote it, what and what. And so please do so. All right. Um, we talked a lot about that book for about at least 15 minutes. Um, let's get into something here. I opened the door for questions. If you're just getting with us, I see that we had a couple other people that joined the stream. If you're just getting with us tonight, you caught me in talking about the book that I just wrote, or the book that I wrote, 101 Black History Question Challenge from the Erudition Network, or the Erudition Network presents in its early world. We have a couple of them um, coming out. So who's this? Angel Hall. Off topic. Pam Grier, Bernadette, the daughter of Good Times, who was the one being definitely easy. Okay. Um, that's a good question to ask. I don't know how that relates to Black history, but I guess they're Black, and I guess that they, you know, good point. God bless you. Um, but let's get into something here tonight. Something that I think that we should uh talk about. Um, it would be uh beneath me to not talk about the events of the last week, with the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, the political the RNC, which has happened just before this convention, and now we have this convention going. But I'm I'm glad that some people will say, you know, despite the rhetoric and vitriol that has been present in our politics, um, I don't like to see um, politicians shot down in our country. Um, the idea of politicians or leaders or leadership being shot down in countries has led to huge conflicts in history. It has led to wars. It has led to whole topplings of regimes. Um, it has led to thousands and sometimes up to close to millions of people being affected throughout decades. And so when we look at the cause of World War I, when we look at the rise of Hitler in World War II, when we see violence and rhetoric and assassinations being done, then we have to understand that this is something that we really must take serious. Take serious. Um, I was thinking of Hitler. That's a statement. Um, the other day after the attempt, and I was thinking about how assassinations and things like that have affected us. Um, you really have um, to understand it. You know, the Jewish people, they remember Night of Broken Glass, they remember Kristallnacht, and they remember how the Germans went in and attacked and took businesses from them, killed Jewish citizens in Germany. Kristallnacht, the people have plaques and things to remember that, but that was a huge change um, in what was going on in Germany, right? Um, and so when you start to look at attempts like what happened with Donald Trump, um, you have to take it very seriously. Rather it be whatever political side that you sit on, you have to take it seriously because the um the change in the minds of people is just that important and just that dangerous. Um, when you look at what do they call it, Strasbourg, uh, which is um, the push that Hitler did, and you go look at the Night of Long Knives. You know, they had a lot of knights, but they went in and Hitler cutting the head off of his followers, right? The people in the SA to make you to as he rose up in power, he got rid of the bullies and the thugs who had helped him, right? Ernst Röhm and all of them, they were killed, they were assassinated. So we have to look at history as it is and see how that plays into um, when you see attempts like this, how is that going to affect us? It might go over your head, right? It go completely over your head, and it may not seem like it makes any sense, and it doesn't in initially. But how it plays into history is very, very important. Can you ask something here? Um, I'm finding it difficult to take any of the black voters seriously who have spoken in Trump's favor, especially when the known well-educated black voters are not supporting Trump. Are there any thoughts on that? Well, there are thoughts on that. I watched, and I'm not going to put out anybody's names, but I watched a video the other day of two of the black men who support Trump, who have been going throughout the country, meeting in cigar shops and barber shops and different things what they consider to be black establishments, and campaigning for Donald Trump in the black community. And the problem that I have, what is definitely egregious of it, is that they're going in and they're putting out false history. One of these gentlemen said that the black family was better during Jim Crow. That's actually what he said. And he tried to clean it up, but it's what he said. I'm looking for a book right here. So you guys, I apologize if I'm turned away from you. I moved a lot of my books around, but I was just looking for a book. I'll find it later. But it's a book by W.B. Du Bois. Because what was funny was he went and he made this statement again. And oh, there it is. He went and made this statement again in Atlanta. And if you are a historian, if you are an academic, if you're somebody who actually understands what was going on in Georgia in the time that he called it the time of Jim Crow. Well, Jim Crow wasn't always the rule, the law of the land. There were black codes and different things like that. But he said that black folks did better, right? And he based that off of no history, no fact. But what he neglected to tell you all was that black people or former black slaves did open up their own towns, and they did have success in having their own businesses. However, the value of their property, right, was stolen from them. Any family that gets back together, that can work together, is going to have decency. But what he neglected to tell you is that they had to live in a certain parcel of land where they could not venture out of. What he neglected to tell you is that if their business was successful, right, that a lot of them couldn't keep it. It wasn't uncommon for whites to come in and take their land. And I venture, Tina, that's a great question, because now you've made me think that maybe I should do a episode, not tonight, to show you all, because I want to show you these graphs to make you understand it's not me making this up, right? This is Atlanta, Georgia, around the time that this Trump politician was talking about. He would benefit from going to get W.B. Du Bois's data portraits that he presented to the World Fair, visualizing Black America from the period of 1870 after the Civil War, right, all the way into the early 1900s. He would benefit from knowing that there were actual Black academics who went in to look at that and to give you the facts of it, and don't give you a half story. Don't follow a politician based on something that somebody has said that they don't even have the facts for, because then you can't really take them seriously. Eric, so here's what I think. We aren't looking at what gave us Trump in the first place. Our current politician system gave us Trump. Trump is not the problem. He is a symptom. No, we are looking at that. We are looking at that. And I like the way you phrased that, Eric. I'm put that back up there. What gave us? I think last week I made a comment. I think last week I kind of went in and I kind of said that what gave. We are sitting around very often waiting to be given something and not creating something. When you look at Congress right now, when you look at the State of the Union address, and you look around, and a majority of the people, the legislatures in our country, are white. In a country that is, you walk through the streets of New York or walk through the streets of Chicago or any street, that's not America. But these parties have created, they have developed their leadership in perpetuity. They keep it going. There's a reason why some of them were sitting in office to almost 100 years old. Some of them who had been part of the KKK, Strom Thurmond. And they sat in that office for decades. Strom Thurmond outlived Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Most people won't remember that Strom Thurmond sat up there and filibustered. He filibustered the passing of civil rights legislation in 1957. Many of you won't remember Strom Thurmond. right? Because he passed on into history. But you say gave, because that's really what it is. He is part of the Republican Party. He joined the Republican Party in 1964 after being a Dixiecrat. When the party switched over, because they did not want Democrats, the Dixiecrats left to go to the Republican Party. This is within Donald Trump's lifetime. He understands, ladies and gentlemen, right? He understands where and why he's running that way. We also got to understand why he's there. It's not an amazing thing, right? Sitting the U.S. Senator seat of South Carolina. It's not an amazing thing. It's what it is. It's what it is. And it's disturbing. It's disturbing. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want you to misconstrue what I'm saying here. I don't want you to think that what I'm saying is that you don't have the right to vote any way you want to vote. But as I've often said, and as I keep saying, just be informed. Just be informed, right? I don't think a lot of us are trying to be informed. I think a lot of us we're looking at it not fully, right? And I think we need to do better at that. And yes, I am choosing my words. Should we follow the political advice from a stripper? I'm just trying to understand the motives behind the selection of these people. Well, there's just as many dubious people on the Democratic side too. But I agree that politicians, but that's a different thing there, Tina. I would offer. One of the things that I've said a lot, and I tell my sons a lot, is that it has been evident to me through history that a lot of people in the Black community are susceptible to propaganda. We follow propaganda, and that's a problem. That's a problem. Because when we start following propaganda, we lose ourselves. And we don't really catch on to all of the facts and the things that are really part of what's going on. And so, yeah, it's pretty sick. But you'll see the same buffoonery and clownery coming out here soon. So, with the Democratic Party too. And no, you need to think for yourself. You don't have to follow anybody's example. But I do believe, and I think that that's the thing that Eric, you continually bring up. You got to grow your politicians. Well, Eric, I think you would be wrong with that. I don't agree with that. The Democratic Party is not the reason we have Trump. Okay, let's get into that part. 90% of Blacks voting for Democrats, and they constantly don't deliver on what we get. Let's stop right there. Let's stop right there. When you look at where we are, and I'm going to go this way because historically, I think we have to touch on this. But when you look at history, Blacks do not vote in a monolith. Let me say that again for all of you, the people in the back, and the folks who are going to come on here later. Historically, and even today, we do not vote in a way where we're just pushed to one party. That is a rhetoric lie that has been around since the time of Lyndon Johnson and Kennedy. The reason why it became that way was to defend against. Let me tell you why I know this to be true. When the Democratic Party was trying to get black votes in the 60s, when Fannie Lou Hamer and all of them wanted to be recognized, what was it, in Mississippi, they ran into racial problems with the Democratic Party. Just the same, those racist Dixiecrats who eventually wound up leaving the parties. But some stayed, even though they were just as equally racist. Neither party, Republican nor Democrat, is exclusively cut off from racism. You will find just as many racists in both parties. Here's the problem. The policies of the party. If you go back even to the time of what's that cat's name? Go back to the Depression, right? Where blacks were voting Republican, right? But go back and look at those times in which they were trying to get blacks even out of the Republican Party, who was supposed to be the party of Lincoln at the time, right? And when the Depression came and the President of the United States said, lean on your churches, black folks were already doing that. They had already learned how to utilize what they had. And even in the midst of Jim Crow, where a lot of them could not vote, when the Lily White movement was kicking in before that, when they were pushing them out of those parties, black folks still never voted in a majority of a monolith. What changed is that black people vote for what they believe is going to be better for their lives, more so than any other culture in this country. Even the Republicans have told you that they feel that the only way to get black people to vote Republican again is we got to start giving them things. Black people don't want you to give them anything. Historically, they have never asked you to give them anything. They are conservative by the way they were brought up. They have deviated from that because of the racism that has gone rampant in both parts of the political system, political parties of this country, vying for their votes. I will guarantee you that they were probably more independent during the time of parties than any other culture in this country. And I will validate that with books like what Dr. Du Bois put out. I will validate that with books of what Ida B. Wells put out. I will validate that by the fact that they were trying to, in the South, to stop them from voting, right? Because they felt the only way to stop them from deciding who's going to be in office is to deny them the vote. Blacks got Ulysses S. Grant voted in as president of the United States. Blacks. He was one of the first presidents to praise black voters for giving him the win and saying he would definitely look after them. It wasn't given to them, they took it. We don't teach our political black history. And so every now and again, I get animated because somebody will then bust out and throw that out. I'm not picking on you, Eric, but they will throw that out there. They just vote Democrat. They don't think about it. They voted Democrat because after the Emmett Till, because after the Civil Rights Movement, after Dr. King being put in jail and they were going to kill him, Daddy King, Martin Luther King Jr.'s father, went and asked and begged, along with Coretta Scott King, his wife, the president of the United States at the time, John Kennedy to step in and save his life. Hold on. Other blacks went to the Republican Party and they asked the candidate, the people that was there, folks in power, could you help? And they refused. They downright refused. Richard Nixon being one of them. Jackie Robinson, who was a Republican, who campaigned for Republicans at a time where blacks were going Democrat, who was called a sellout. Go look at his history. Saying Jackie Robinson integrated baseball. He went to Richard Nixon and other Republicans and said, can we help with the civil rights movement down here? And they refused to use political capital to do that. And then they nominated a racist after Kennedy was killed. And Jackie Robinson said, I'm done. I'm done. Blacks didn't vote Democrat because that was the only thing that they could do. They voted because the Republican Party at the time, going into the Reagan era, told them, you are second class. Profiled them on television. George Bush Sr. ran the campaign demeaning a black man who had done nothing wrong. Reagan constantly talked about the drugs and the crime in the black community while doing nothing to change it. Just say no, kids. I know because I grew up in that era. So let's not say that black people just voted Democrat because that's all they was taught. That's all they was taught. I'd ask you to go back, do your research, not the research that y'all tell me you do where somebody picks up a phone and asks a question. No, go read. If you don't know what to read, I'll suggest some things for you. If you feel that you don't understand what's going on with the Supreme Court, my mother's friend and her helped get this book. I was going through it. I think I'm like just halfway through it. Simple Justice, where they talk about the history of Brown versus the Board of Education. It's a heck of a read about the Supreme Court and how they feel about you as black people based on facts, history, written example. We are not living in the era where we can say to ourselves, I'm just going to say something based off of what I think, when there's so much information out here to validate what is factual. Personally, I'm insulted by the RNC selection of black voters representations because it's not speaking highly on black voters to have that better representation. Well, here's the thing. It also comes down to, are you in that community? I would even challenge that the problem that we have, I have friends who are black and are Republican. Okay. Politics used to be something that, yeah, I'm a Republican, you're a Democrat, whatever. This is what I vote. We've made it into something as sectarian. We've made it into a life and death situation. We've made it into a situation where if I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, then I'm nothing. That's not your life. That is politics. Politics, by definition, is confrontation. So are you saying that your life is only built on conflict? We can do better. When those two African-American men that Donald Trump sent to that cigar shop, and the guy said he was proud to walk in the barracks because he served in the military. He was proud to walk in the barracks that had the name Robert E. Lee on it. And you said this in a room full of black folks. Man, you're not trying to get people to have a different mindset. I did refute your statement. I did refute your statement. You're thinking that black people vote because there's some cattle drive. That is what you're saying. But here's the reason. And they did not vote for them 90% of the time. I gave you, maybe in your life, Eric, you see that way. But I gave you the reason why they vote more Democrat, for a reason, because the why is important. So I do refute your statement. That would be just as saying that when during Fannie Lou Hamer's time, during Dr. King's time, oh, they all vote Republican. Black folks gonna vote Republican. Because that was that time period. We don't live in that time period. And so the changes had to happen to the party. Johnson said, when he was told we're going to lose the vote in the South for generations, he said, so be it, and signed the 1968 Civil Rights Bill because it was the right thing to do. So my point to you is that people are going to vote to their interest. You say the Democrats don't do anything for you, but here's the reality to that. They have done more for Black America, and I'll be 51 years old. In my lifetime, they haven't done everything because they don't have a lot of stake in the game. Because as I stated earlier, that a lot of the problem is that when you look at our branches of power, there's no Black or brown representation. So when you don't have stake in the game, right, you don't feel you lose anything. That's what Malcolm meant about the foxes and the wolves. And I've said that many times before. But let us not conflate and say, oh, Black people just vote Democrat, and not know the history behind it. Not know the history behind it. It's the same dubious history, right? Because it's dubious when you vote against your better interests as the people in the South, who no matter what the party is, whether it was when they was the Dixiecrats or when they went over to the Republican Party, they voted for separation of this country. And the purpose of switching parties in the case of Strom Thurmond, who I mentioned just earlier, the same Strom Thurmond that stood on the at the Lincoln Monument and said that Black people should be happy that they're able to have refrigerators, cars, places to live in this country. They should be happy. And served till he was 100 years old, and then people in Congress praised him. On both sides of the party. When people come for me, the reason I don't discuss politics, you all, outside of a historical vein, is you better come for me proper. Because I know my history. I know about the Lily White movement. Go look it up. I know what the Republican Party did after Lincoln and after Reconstruction and turning their backs on Blacks. I know how Black codes, segregation, Jim Crow came into power. And it wasn't just a Democrat or Republican thing. It was both. I talked about convict leasing and how these great people who abolitionists who wanted us to be free say, yeah, but they shouldn't have they Black behind standing around our towns near our beautiful white daughters and white sisters. So what they did was they locked you up for vagrancy to strip you of your vote, because the Constitution said that if you were a convict, you could be put back into perpetual slavery. I watched and read the history of how the states went around the federal law on both parties. See, I don't look at politics as sectarian. I don't look at it as Republican or Democrat. I look at it from a historical vein. So when you tell me that they're only going to vote that way, then I'm going to ask you those empirical questions. Who, what, when, where, and why? Black folks voting Democratic because they got tired of seeing their brothers and their cousins and their uncles sent to Vietnam before Nixon was forced to end the draft and cut the head off the military. And most veterans will tell you that going through the 80s in the military, it was rough. It was rough because people stopped serving. It was a bad taste in your mouth after Vietnam. Those same brothers who got their legs and arms blown off, my father can tell you about, because his friends coming back to the neighborhood tore up, messed up. And the Republican Party going into the 80s with Reagan telling them, no, it's okay. It's fine. Folks coming back with drug and addiction problems who needed counseling. And Reagan and the Republicans cut the funding. And drugs became an epidemic in the 80s and the 90s in the Black community. You have to understand that this is bull. But you're not going to understand it until you delve into it, until you research it. You're not going to get it until you do that. And that's where they got us. Because many of us, we don't research it. We read an article, we listen to somebody's speech. Every night when I'm on here, I tell you, I give you books to read, I give you places to go. I think I've held 4 or 5 books up here tonight. It does not benefit me for you not to read and have knowledge of your own. And let me explain something to you. I saw your comment here. You don't have to tune into anything. But I will tell you this, if debate makes you not see reality, then it's not a purposeful debate. You've already come in it with an idea or a thought. I would venture to tell you right now to go find anything that I said tonight on this program. I will venture to tell you to go look up it anywhere and tell me anything that I told you that was wrong. That's not a fact. You think that it is propaganda or that you are lost because you're voting a certain way. I never told you to do that. And I'm going to tell you for the 18th time, because I keep telling, I've told you this for years. You vote the way you want to vote. I've never told you, and I never will on Erudition or anything else, told anyone what you should vote. But what I did tell you to do is go find the facts. Vote with knowledge. Vote with knowledge. If you go pull up the information and you see it for what it is, then you'll know what it is. To lie to us, to tell us that the reason that Black folks only vote Democrat is because they don't think about it is a lie. The reason fact of the matter is there was a reason why Black started voting Democrat. Do I agree that they should automatically vote Democrat? Absolutely not. Research your local and federal politicians, courts, judges. When my wife and me and my kids, when we vote, that's what we go look. Well, what are they really proposing here? And as my son just said here, facts are stubborn things. They will always stand. God is based on fact. Tina, what? Well, Eric, most Republicans believe Black people don't read. So if you're not reading, that's right. Okay, well, look, I don't want you guys arguing on sectarian political means. That's not beneficial. What I'm telling you tonight is to go look at that. There's just as dubious things on the Democratic side. When they call the super predators. When they help to sign bills with Republicans that diminish Black life. It's almost the same way. No, it is not almost. It's the same way coming out of Reconstruction, where America just basically decided we've done enough for the Negro. Now he's living around us. Now he seems like he's going to actually prosper. Now let's strip that from him. Those are the realities, right, that we face on both sides of the party. George Washington told us that party systems would destroy this country. Go look that up. He was not for party systems. Eric, I didn't misunderstand your post. I think you misunderstanding my point. My point is that you can vote whatever you want to vote. You can vote for whoever you want to vote for. People voted for Strom. I'm going to use Strom Thurmond because I'm actually over my hour, but I'm going to use Strom Thurmond as I close this out. Strom Thurmond served in the Senate for decades. He was a bigot. He was a racist. He was a liar. He wanted Dr. King dead. He wanted civil rights movement to stop. He was a very disgusting individual. And yet, when Strom Thurmond died, it came out that the great honorable racist segregationist Strom Thurmond had a black daughter. And his black daughter had been told that she could not share her existence until after he was dead. He was known for going at black people racially and doing things. He was a very disgusting individual. But here's the thing. That didn't stop those people from voting on him. That didn't stop those people from keeping him in office. That man served even up until just the end of the 2000s, coming into the 2000s. Decades of service on the eyes of white supremacy. He changed parties because he wanted to keep white supremacy. He had babies. He had a baby outside of his race while telling everybody that black was disgusting and blacks were this and black were that. You can get online right now and see pictures with him standing with George Bush Sr. and Jr. That didn't stop people from voting for him, even after he switched parties. So when you go look up SMA Washington, his daughter, who just died in 2013, who lived her entire life and couldn't say that she was his daughter. This is politics in America. This is why I don't put my money in it. This is why I think that you have to be careful with it. You cannot think that it is just a political juggernaut that's dictating your life. It's what you do every day. It's the service that you do, the work that you do in your community that helps to save lives. Because whatever policies are going to be passed, whatever rhetoric is going to be put out there, you still going to wake up the next day in that black skin, living in a country where has historically treated black men and black women as something other. That is the reality. All right, I'm going to ask these last questions. I'm going to get on out of here. The Democrat Party is now committing a genocide against people who look like us. Then let us get Trump. At least they are honest with. So you got me on here longer today, Eric. That statement right there. They at least let us get Trump. At least they are honest with how they don't like us. Earlier in this program, I talked to you about Adolf Hitler. You say, oh, Eddie, now you about to call Trump Hitler. No, I'm giving you the history. When Hitler came to power, when he first tried to come to power, right, he was arrested. He was put in jail. He was made out to be a hero, right? He was made out to be a hero. He wrote a book and he told people how he had been lambasted and everything, and his political power rose. But even before that, Hitler tried to overthrow the German government. And we mistell history because we tell everybody it was because he was angry about what happened after World War I and how Germany had been blamed. Yeah, there is a part of that. What he was more angry about was the fact that there were Germans who he felt did not have power, and there were Jews who he thought were not human who did. He felt that way. And when his political power went back up and he got out of jail and he had his own thugs and army, basically the army, the SA was an army that rivaled in many ways, the German military at the time, who was under reduction because of World War I. And a lot of the people within the German army, they all sided with him. People sided with Hitler. They sided with the idea of Nazism. They sided with the idea. And you know what they said too? He tells us what we want to hear. He's not hiding things like the government. He's telling us. He friended Goebbels and all of these psycho people who were in his party, in the Nazi party. And when he was able to become chancellor, they said, you know, Bismarck said, hey, let's at least bring him in a chancellor because he has all of these people. We at least know what a threat is. We'll see him. We'll know what he's saying. And within a very few amount of years, he was the authority in Germany. And history tells us what happened after the fact. Because people made the misconception and the thought that just because he's being honest, we can control him. Don't fall into that. I don't give a damn what party it is. Don't fall into that. Because that is the leading way to fascism. That is the leading way to destruction. I'm going to say this to you all. Derek got me on here a little bit longer. We are at a point in American history for the first time in world history that the amount of white people, as you traditionally know them in the world, their numbers are dropping. And we've known this biologically for at least a century now. It's the reason why they were running around talking about miscegenation. It's the reason why they were lynching black men back in the early 1900s. It's a reason behind this. This is not new, ladies and gentlemen. But now we're at the crisis point, and racists are losing their minds. Donald Trump just put in a guy to be VP for him who is married to an Indian American. And people within his own party were like, oh, he's not going to be on the side of keeping white people alive. That's the fear, man. That's the fear of stuff that people are going and gravitating, people of color are gravitating to because they're telling you, people in that party are telling you they don't want you. They're afraid. Grandma is 80 years old. She lived through them burnings and them killings. Great grandma who raised her, they know all of this stuff. What happened in Waco? What happened in Chicago? What happened in Georgia? What happened in Virginia? They know this stuff. They know that history, man. Do you realize that is the reason why the United States Postal Service in the 20s had to stop and say it was illegal to send pictures in the mail of lynchings? Because it documented who was being killed, and they had a number they were trying to throw out there. We are still seeing killings done by the police, done by folks in the community. We're still seeing this. And they're telling you they don't want you in their neighborhoods. They're increasing the ability to redline. They call it HOA. They're increasing the ability to rebuild communities and kick you out. But you think it's okay because you're saying to yourself, well, at least they telling me. I'm not telling you don't do who to vote for. I'm telling you to think, research, figure out, understand. Eric, you will not, again, you are arguing with me with a straw man argument, right? We are all same people. Everybody comes out of Africa, even the white people. But if you don't accept that, see, that's the part. That's the acceptance of that we see all over the world. The woman that stood up that Tina's talking about, Amber Rose, who got into a fight because somebody dared to call her black. The African who wants to be Muslim, considered to be Arab more than he wants to be considered African. The black people who are darker than me that say, oh, let's just ignore color. Okay. But while I'm ignoring it, let me tear down those very people who look like me. Let's call them stupid, ignorant. Let's gaslight them. Let's BS them. The struggle with the Palestinian, with the migrant, with African Americans, with people of color throughout the world is the idea that we cannot come together, because when we do, we make statements that are salacious and foolish, where we say to ourselves, well, they only coming together because they feel this way. They only vote this way because they feel this way. Bobby Kennedy went down to the South when he was trying to run for president. He had never really gone down to the South. And when he went down to the South, he broke down in tears because he didn't realize that there were, let me clarify to you here, there were white Americans living without running water. Those were his words. There were white Americans basically, they didn't have an electric stove. They didn't have electricity. They didn't have a phone. Not black Americans, white Americans, because he qualified the wealth of America based on white people. His thought was, we got to get these people in a coalition. Then Lyndon Johnson tried to do this whole poor people's thing because they realized that these people have been voting against their best interests for years, and that there's no way that America could prosper with people still living like they were living in the 1800s. I am not even going to address the fact of calling people below, but what I am going to say is that we got to be better and more knowledgeable. Eric, I'm going to tell you as I tell anybody. I no longer, I know, but I'm going to read it out so everybody understands why I'm going to address this, and then I'm going to get out of here. I no longer understand the premise of the show. I would have expected you to be angry about the mass murder of our people. Instead, you hit on voting for the. No, I didn't. Again, you hear what you want to hear. I didn't tell you to vote for anybody. I told you to research, and I gave you facts. Everything on here was a fact. And if you do not no longer want to tune in, I'm gonna tell you, like I tell everybody, that is your that is your prerogative. If facts, and I'm gonna clarify that again, facts run you away from a discussion, then ask yourself, was the discussion ever really about the facts? That's the fact. I'm not going to degrade African Americans for voting Democrat any more than people should degrade white folks for voting Republican. They're going to vote for what is of interest to them. And they're going to tell you, as you just said, earnestly why they're doing it. To keep the Mexican, the criminal, out of our country. To stop the abortions. To do this and this and that. They tell you what their agenda is. But they tell you what their agenda is on either side. I'm an independent. I'm not, and I have always been. But I don't lie. I don't conflate. Palestinians are dying. African Americans are dying. You want to worry about the fact of folks starving out? Why don't you compare the infantile birth rate of African American people of color to everybody else in this country? The amount that die in jail, the amount that don't live to 10 years old. Do that. Right? But because we see war, and war is horrible, but you are talking about Palestinians as if the Democrats are the only ones that are going to fund the Palestinians, when in fact, the Democratic Party that I remember, Barack Obama did not want to give money to Israel unless they stopped the attack on the Palestinians. Donald Trump told Netanyahu he had a blank check. Netanyahu is conservative. So I don't understand why you think that one party is going to do something the other party is not. But that is your prerogative, my brother. That is your prerogative. Yeah. Yeah, they did. Both parties have locked up a lot of us. Do you think that we could stop racial violence if only one party? It takes more than one party to allow it to happen. And we've all said that. We've all said that. It takes more than one party. The Republicans can't do it by themselves, neither can the Democrats. But when we sit in the back room and we say, well, that don't benefit us. That don't benefit us. So I'm okay with not allowing these programs to hit the Black community. I'm okay with not signing this foreign policy because those people don't look like us. Did not America go out of its way? Do you know what Lend-Lease was? Do you remember what Lend-Lease was? Lend-Lease was FDR trying to find a way to work around a locked American people and give weapons to the British and to the Allies so that people, lending them tanks, lending them planes, because they couldn't bear to see European life be ended. Was there a Lend-Lease, right? A Lend-Lease system in place in Africa? Is there a Lend-Lease system in any place of color? Lose me with the idea that it's one party. I'm giving you facts tonight. You can't gaslight me. You can't strawman argue me. You're not going to be able to do that. And if it causes you not to watch because facts hurt, welcome to my world. I read history that has disgusted me. That has disgusted me. But I read it because I want to know the facts. We have to grow more than just a party system. Malcolm X told you in 1964, you are not represented by a party. You never have been. They don't see you as a Democrat when you walk in the door, or a Republican or an independent. They've seen you for what they called you. And they still play politics with your race when you walk in the door. You just said it yourself. 90% of these Black folks gonna vote Democrat. 30% gonna vote Republican and 20% gonna do this. You're a number, man. I told y'all about this sociologist scientist Wilcox as one of the men who deceived America, who wrote up all these statistics about how black people don't think when they vote. I told you that in the beginning of voting, that black men who were given the vote and black women were not. They sat down with their wives and kids and they decided as a family who would vote. We know this because it is documented in church meeting notes. We know this because it's part of our history. It's part of our spoken history. So when we say that black people only vote as a monolith for Democrats, you better ask yourself why. And if you want to change that, then get your party that you're a part of to start doing things that will not push black people away. Have them stand up for social justice. Have them stop allowing the police to murder us. Not have their candidates say, no, don't be too nice to them, bash their heads against the goddamn car, and then put them in. Have your politicians stop ignoring lynching laws. Have your politicians stop allowing police and police groups to get around the murder of black and brown people. Have your politicians stop ignoring black rapes in this country. Have your politicians stop looking at the systems and the standards that are being used in these jobs and in these organizations that push black people out of huge six-figure jobs based on old stratagems that have been in place since the 1800s. Stop allowing white think tanks that Republicans have all over the country devise things like 2025 and devise ways to get around social laws or civil rights laws that have been put in place since the 50s. If you really want to change something, then look at those things, not who's a Democrat, who's a Republican, who's voting for him, who's voting for her. I don't care if you sign your name on a paper and you vote for Bill the Bip, the dog next door. The fact of the matter is, you have to look at what is it going to change for my community. My community. You're talking about Palestine. Do you remember what the PLO was? Do you remember Yasser Arafat? Do you remember that this is nothing new? This is nothing new. When those people came together, they killed them. They murdered them. I'm not a historian because I just teach you black history. I'm a historian because I read history, because I study history. Go read about Golda Meir. Go read about how these people, how they felt about the Palestinian. This ain't about Democrat, Republican. This is about humanity, where we're going. And if you think that just because somebody says, yeah, he says he's a racist, he says he got bigoted thoughts, but at least I know he bigoted, that ain't going to stop him from signing them laws into place that strip you of your ability to do things, strip you of your humanity. And let me tell you something, because I know that I don't want you to think I'm picking on you. But here's the thing. Who fought hardest against gays being married? Since we talking parties. Who did that? Who walked in the room and said that and party agreed that the Latino Americans coming up from South America are inhuman, criminals, thugs? Who rationalized the death of a man being pushed to the ground with a knee in his neck? Who said that? And I'm not talking about one person. What party co-signed the idea that Confederate monuments and flags and things should stay up? Now, black folks don't vote in a monolith, my brother. They vote for a lot of them for their best interest. It ain't always gonna be good on either side. But if you sick a dog on me when I come in your neighborhood, or you jump out of a truck with a shotgun and blow my brother away, heck, you know I'm not gonna vote for your people. Years ago, since I'm on here, years ago, there was a man who saw a black kid walking down the street at night. And he jumped out of his out, and even though the police told him not to, he went up and he accosted this young black boy and he killed him. You remember that? You remember that? We have Skittles and some tea. Remember that? And all the Republicans was like, well, he was walking around with a hoodie. Well, he did kind of look suspect. He looked suspect. And then they said, well, George Zimmerman, you know, he ain't really a white guy. He got Latino in him. And they did all of this culturalism. And I argued with people who was friends of ours in the military. Who's like, well, Eddie, you don't know. Because I saw the racial politics for what it was. But at the end of the day, Trayvon Martin, who could have been one of my kids, anybody's son walking down the street, he's the reason why I don't let my young black sons just go ride down the street on their bike any kind of way. They killed him. And you know what was said by the Republican Party? Go look it up tonight. Well, his crime, he did look suspect. He could have just said whatever, and he would have still be alive. We could hear the audio of that young man screaming. Tamir Rice playing with a pop gun out in the park. White man calls and says, oh, he's doing something wrong. They kill him. And the Republicans decided, well, Barack Obama, they shouldn't be talking about this. This is racial politics. No, black people don't vote in a monolith. They vote because they see what is going on. Yeah, Leonard Clark is another one. All of this stuff. And I'm not telling you. Again, let me get nobody get it twisted tonight. I'm not telling you to vote Democrat or Republican. I'm giving you facts. We say that the Democratic cities are crime infested. We say that they're not doing anything. But wait a minute. We're going to send migrants up here to a crime infested city that we say ain't no good. Eric, you know me. You have known me for decades. I don't pick on nobody. You open up this argument and I'm giving you facts. It's the same thing I would do for anybody. But because you are my brother and I love you, I would not allow you to say something that is half. You know that to be me. You know that to be me. Rather you were sitting on this show with me tonight or we're talking in the comments. That's just who I am. I'm going to shoot it right at you. Factually, both of these parties have given us, and I'm going to say that again, given us nothing. And I've said this before and I will say this again. Stop waiting on them to give you anything. Stop waiting on them to give you anything. Make your own. You know, oh man, y'all got me on here tonight. I see people going off about the migrants because Eric, you brought that up earlier too. And I see black people saying, I see the crabs in the barrel. I'm reminded of the Irish black experienced in New York before the draft riots, where blacks were killed by Irish folks during the Civil War, young men, women, and children. And I'm reminded of that crabs in the barrel mentality. These Southern governors, Southern politicians are shipping people up to Chicago and New York. And they're doing that because they feel that they can, because there's no unity. There's no unity with people of color. And they're actually right. We don't have a unity. We don't understand the Latinx connection. We don't understand our combined history between South America, those cousins of ours, and us. We don't understand it. And so what we're fighting, and I've been telling people, I said, you know what would really be beneficial for all of those migrants that are there, and for all of the Black people who say that they don't have anything, right? Won't you do what your ancestors did post-Reconstruction? Won't you do what your ancestors did before the Mexican-American War? Won't you do what they did? They worked together. They built businesses. They built a coalition. It was so scary to the white people of that time that they had to write laws to keep the Negro away from the Mexican. Go read your history of Mexican American and African American indigenous people and their interactions with each other. But that's a history we don't teach. You want to start a small business, landscaping, doing whatever, and go find some of these migrant folks who have a work visa, can work, and help build your company with them, as opposed to saying they ain't giving me no check, right? All of that is going on. It's a mess. Answering. But that needs to happen. We are allowing ourselves to get lost in the sauce. We're not seeing the truth of it. I guarantee you, if you had tried to utilize the people who are willing to work, the migrants who are coming up, who aren't criminals, who want to work, who want to have a better life for their families, and you place them in a business situation to help you, it ain't got to be the greatest business in the world, but it gives them something to do. Watch how quickly they stop sending the migrants up there. Watch how quickly they try to devise laws to separate you. We got to do better, ladies and gentlemen. Eric, I appreciate all of your interaction. I'm not picking on you. You opened up the floor to a question. And you said you had no question, and I'm going to always respond because I want y'all to have history. I think I gave a lot of history out of here today. I try to do that for every program, everything that we do. I did not expect to be on for an hour and 38 minutes. But, and again, I tell you, people do what you gonna do. I'm not, if you feel you have to do whatever you're gonna do, that's what they do. But I know you joking. But here's the thing. Just be informed. Let's have these discussions. Maybe we should do a forum, have a discussion, and bring people together, and we can all talk about why we believe Black people vote the way they do. Have a better discussion than what's being offered during these. Everybody's picking on RNC, but the DNC ain't gonna be no better, right? And so we as people outside of that party system, we just have to have these discussions, and we have to look at the history, and we have to inform ourselves. And I think if we do that, um, we'll be all right. We'll be all right. All right, y'all. This has been a really good show. If I didn't get to all your comments, I'm gonna try to answer some of them as we go on. I know we had some people here, new people in here. Thank you for joining us. And I do believe we are divided. Ladies and gentlemen, last thing before I get out here, book is out. Book is out. All right. Go get the book. It's pretty thick, right? Pretty thick. I keep saying that because I got to get my mind around how much I actually wrote in this book. But the print version is out. You can get it on Lulu Books. Understand when you watch the beginning of this, the price of it is $45. The publisher wanted it to be $85 to $110. Generously, that's a $40 difference. This is not just a quiz book. Don't be deceived by just the question challenge. There's a lot in this book. There is a lot, right? I will put the link in here again for where you can go get it, where you can order it and get that book, get the print book. Also, you can always, and I did this, if the print book is too much for you, right? If the print book, $45 is too much for you, you have the ability to go get the interactive ebook that can be on your phone. It could be on your tablet. It is an ebook, and you can use it. You can stream it to your television, and it is a question and answer book. These things were done to allow everybody the opportunity to get the information, which I think is more important than anything. Get the information that is needed, right, to inform us. I'm putting both links in here. The first one is for the paperback copy that is out, the $45 book, and the other one is for the $18 interactive book that has been out since about February. So you've had some time to go and get either book. And do me a favor, when you get these books, send me a review. Go on Lulu. Go on. If you buy, you can buy it on Amazon. The ebook is on Amazon. I don't know when exactly the print book is going to appear on Amazon, but the ebook is on Amazon right now. But send me a review. Send me a review, even if you have me on Facebook. Send it to the Erudition Network on Facebook, and let us know what's going on. I just think we need to have a better discussion about the immigrant thing, and we need to talk about it from a historical perspective that can allow us to understand today's perspective. But I gave you all the links. I'm gonna get ready to get on out of here, and I want you all to that was my reminder from my son. I had to mute you also for the trash today. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna get out of here. Eric, thank you for all your questions. Everybody, thank you for being here. My girl, how often do I go live? I'm on every Thursday from 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, 6 o'clock Central Standard Time, Chicago time. My wife has a show on Monday. She's on 7 o'clock Mountain Time, 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, and my sons they try to be on every week. They have a show on Wednesdays that you can definitely look at and see. If you are on Facebook at any kind of way, you can find us at the Erudition Network, and we definitely we have a group on there too, Erudition Network Interactive. You can join that. I put that link in there. You can join either one of those. But And also, you'll see us on YouTube as you're watching us right now, and we're always going to respond to any comments that you make in the comments or whatever. So thank you for joining us, though. I do appreciate you bringing your thoughts to the discussion. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me get out of here. It's 1:44. I mean, 1 hour and 44 minutes over my, I'm over my time. I usually only do this for about an hour, but I got to get out of here. You all be blessed until we see you all again, hopefully next week. Please, please, please stay informed, read, stay informed. You see the ticker down here. I didn't forget to put that on today. If you want to help out with the Erudition Network in any kind of way, everything is appreciated. Helps us with our cameras, mics, and different things that we're doing to try to push this show and to grow these episodes and these programs. Please feel free to do that also. It is greatly appreciated. But until we see you again, you be blessed, and we will be seeing you. Have a good one.